Item Number SCP-Y-070. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-Y-070 is handled like a moving storm with a moral trigger. Site Y-1 watches for 3 cues that usually arrive together: a spike in unresolved violent or organized crime, a dark violet haze that dims daylight over the suspected core, and a slow roaming whistle that, time compressed, resolves to historical execution ballads. When any 2 cues hit, the Foundation declares a quiet watch, assumes temporary control of power, transit, and right-of-way, pushes neutral public guidance with secure cords or ropes, while taking down hanging signage and removing overhead lines, and, critically, partners with local law enforcement to remove high-priority offenders. Lowering active crime reliably lowers SCP-Y-070 pressure. Field response tracks a simple scale. Stage 0 is pre-storm. Stage 1 adds private nooses tied from household odds and ends. Stage 2 moves the knots into public view, such as signs, power lines, or street furniture. Stage 3 begins targeting humans. In the rare event of pressure spikes to Stage 4, the anomaly may begin a mass execution, and may manifest SCP-Y-070-A. During Stage 2 to Stage 3, containment becomes hands-on. A soft cordon redirects traffic and sets up dusk-to-dawn curfew. Overhead lines inside the circle are de-energized and segmented to deny load-bearing loops. Banners, chains, and hanging displays come down. Drones survey hot blocks. Residents needing safety go to anti-ligature shelters, with no cords, no fan poles, and continuous monitoring. Bodies found in public are recovered under storm damage cover, and routed as mass casualty crime scenes, with the actions of a vigilante. Next of kin notices run through partner agencies to preserve the veil. If the storm tips to Stage 4, the site lead declares Operation Snapback. The cordon hardens 24/7. Power drops across sections. Crews cut spans and wield service cores that can form loops. In the hottest blocks, horizontal members are shored or removed where feasible. All wanted offenders, violent, and property enter protective custody at off-grid anti-ligature sites. Loudspeakers lay brown noise to keep crowds from chasing the whistle emitted by SCP-Y-070-A. Teams do not engage SCP-Y-070-A. The entity is only to be recorded, never engaged. The SCP-Y-022 Daywalker. Team is notified because of the Angelus Mortis match, but Y-22 is not to be deployed into the Haze. Demanifestation is abrupt once the active crime rate collapses. The whistle fades and the sky clears overnight. Recovery is staged. Leave a small, sample grid of ties intact for 24 hours of documentation. Destroy the rest. Re-energize in segments only after line inspections certify no residual loops. Provide medical or psych support and a plain cover narrative, such as storm damage, vandalism, or vigilantism. Internally, cross-check every executed individual against open cases. Discrepancies trigger review, not public action. Description: SCP-Y-070 is a traveling, single-city weather system with a moral trigger. It forms a dim violet haze over one population center at a time. Typical influence ranges to about 7 kilometers. Weather intensifies while serious unresolved crime persists, and dissolves overnight once the crime load collapses. As it strengthens, The environment anomalously begins to arrange itself into hanging apparatus, such as a gallows noose, first in private, then in public, culminating in the discovery of executed criminal offenders and a profound, city-wide halt in criminal activity. When pressure is extreme or criminal defiance is sustained, an apparition appears, informally called the Hangman. Phenomenology. Reports at first tend to say that the sky simply looks wrong. Sunlight drains into a bruise-colored overcast, shadows shorten, and the city feels slightly out of tune. Residents begin finding ordinary items transformed into nooses. A necktie knotted on a closet bar, a dog leash looped from a gate latch, a shower curtain pulled tightened above the tub, a ceiling fan cord pulled into a loop. These finds are sparse and cover-up deniable during the early hours, as the haze darkens and criminal behavior continues unimpeded. The behavior moves into the public sphere. Plastic banner ties, festival pennants, and paper signs twist themselves into loops. Power lines sag in calculated arcs. Temporary scaffolds and awnings begin to favor horizontal spans. In the most advanced towers, metal members develop cold bends, as if an unseen force were attempting to bend even that into a noose. Throughout, bystanders report a slow, roaming whistle that never lingers in one place for very long. Always passing, always a block away, like someone walking and practicing a tune. When recordings are time compressed, the melody frequently resolves to historic execution ballads from multiple traditions: French, Dutch, German, English, and sets the foundation cannot match. The working theory is that some are lost cultures or not connected to baseline reality. The whistle is the nearest thing the storm has to a voice. Selection. SCP-Y-070 acts like a predatory audit. Public discoveries of bodies almost always involve active offenders known to local investigators, or surfaced by later inquiry. In several cases where civilians were believed to be the victims of error, follow-up revealed latent ties to criminal activity, such as human trafficking, smuggling, or organized violence. There is no credible, verified execution of a truly uninvolved subject on record. However, unknown guilt is not an exoneration, and the Foundation treats every death as a crime scene, regardless of the target's status. Targeting bias is notable. Focus skews to recent, dangerous, and unpunished acts, such as homicide, sexual violence, trafficking, aggravated robbery, predation on minors. Presence of active conspiracy appears to raise an individual's risk relative to a single historical offense. Solved or adjudicated cases generally do not move the needle. Arrests and visible enforcement shrink the effective influence of SCP-Y-070. The mechanism of selection is unknown. No chemical, acoustic, or EM carrier has been isolated that can account for case file awareness within the fog. The operational assumption is an anomalous, adjudicative process, operating over social information and supernatural phenomena, rather than a standard trackable system. Escalation. For field use, personnel speak in simple stages. Stage 0. Pre-storm. Crime analytics trend hot. Sky remains normal. Stage 1. Private knots. Minor purple haze in the sky becomes visible. First nooses appear inside homes and yards. The whistling begins. Stage 2. Public knots. Outdoor ties proliferate. Banners, signs, cords, lines. Utilities show non-weather sag, consistent with intentional loop formation. Stage 3. Public executions. Bodies are discovered in plain view. Panic gives way to a fear wave that is often capable of suppressing all reported crime to zero for the remainder of the event. Stage 4. Referred to as the pogrom. Stage 4 cases are exceedingly rare. If crime persists or crowds mock or prod the storm, it widens criteria and begins executing for petty offenses. The Hangman may manifest during this phase, flickering between visibility and absence while the whistle sharpens. Across cities, Stage 1 through Stage 3 typically span 24 to 72 hours. Stage 4 has been observed once, in an event where organized actors continued predation under cover of the haze. The haze. Meteorologically, the canopy behaves like a straight-form lid that selectively eats blue-violet wavelengths, flattening contrast and reducing solar uplight. It does not precipitate, carries no unusual particulate burden, and shows no correlation to regional systems. It simply arrives over the chosen city and refuses to shear until the end condition is met. The boundary is sharp. Adjacent neighbors can sit in normal sun, while the core is dimmed to an overcast noon. The radius rarely exceeds 7 kilometers, but outliers appear where crime geography is elongated, such as transit corridors or riverfronts, or where the city's built environment offers long, continuous spans. The noose phenomenon is not a wind knot. Time-lapse shows goal-directed motion. Slack is discovered, guided, and then left to simply a drop. Materials prefer existing cords and lines, but when those are scarce, the environment is coerced into offering substitutes, such as bent arm signs, shifted beams, toppled sawhorses. There is no visible agency, only outcomes. The fear wave. Following the first public discoveries, communities enter a period of tense quiet. Shoplifters put items back. Bars close early. Gangs suspend operations. Even domestics drop off the call sheets. Residents describe the same interior sensation, as if the air were listening. This is not compulsion in the mimetic sense. People remain fully volitional, but the cost-benefit feeling changes. Whatever calculus SCP-Y-070 performs on offenders, bystanders learn it by example. When the anomaly decides that the ledger is balanced, the haze clears overnight, but the nooses are left like warnings. SCP-Y-070-A, the Hangman. At Stage 4, a figure may appear, very tall, elderly, skin pallid with a weak violet undertone, milky white eyes, a wide brim hat, long, black leather coat, heavy boots. Witnesses often compare him to a gravedigger or gothic mortician. He flickers, as if stepping in and out of the world, and his presence is synonymous with the ballad whistle of SCP-Y-070. Foundation agents attempting detention reported gentle but absolute interference. Power lines leaned into loose, unchoking loops and pulled rescuers aside. Banner cords tightened enough to block pursuit but did not strangle. Then the figure was simply elsewhere, and the song continued. He is recorded clearly when he wants to be, and fails to register on cameras when he doesn't. This effect appears to be retroactive. Old footage of SCP-Y-070 may sometimes feature SCP-Y-070-A, and other times he may not be present in the footage. Incident Report Y-70-1. Date: July 7th, 2000. Location: North Cross, Metro Core, Old Courthouse District. Summary: First documented manifestation of the Violet Canopy, with private to public noose tying, roaming whistle, and public executions of active offenders. Event demanifested overnight after a citywide fear wave halted reported crime. North Cross had been running hot for weeks. Unresolved homicides tied to a protection racket, trafficking rumors around the bus depot, and witness intimidation around the old courthouse. The first hint was sky level. Daylight took on a bruised tint over a tight circle of downtown blocks. Residents began calling 911 about unusual pranks in their homes. Ties knotted to closet bars, a dog leash looped at a back gate, a shower curtain cord cinched above the tub. After a short period, patrol officers logged the same objects appearing outdoors. Banner strings twisting into loops, festival pennants tied off at neck height, and an electronics store where every fan pull cord was twisted into a loop. A slow, mobile whistle drifted through the streets. When sped up, it matched a 19th century English execution ballad. By dawn of day 2, the city woke to 2 bodies hanging from a light rail overpass. Both active enforcers in the North Cross protection ring. Panic spiked. Then something stranger happened. Thefts stopped. Bars closed early. Domestic calls fell silent. Within 24 hours, reported crime in the anomaly zone dropped to 0. The haze cleared overnight. The knots stayed where they had formed. Outcome: 0 civilian fatalities, unrelated to criminal offenders. No Foundation engagement with any visible entity. Cover story of storm damage and vigilantism accepted. SCP-Y-070, logged and placed under Site-Y-1 observables. Incident Report Y-70-7. Date: September 1st, 2000. Location: Calder Point waterfront and the adjacent tenement grid. An elongated 6 to 7 kilometer footprint. Summary: First recorded Stage 4 Pogrom escalation. Organized actors continued predation under the canopy of SCP-Y-070. The anomaly eventually widened criteria to petty offenses, and SCP-Y-070-A manifested intermittently. Calder's Point waterfront gangs used the haze of SCP-Y-070 like a curtain, running forced collections and moving product, while the rest of the city stayed indoors in fear of the anomaly. Public hangings began with known traffickers, and moved within hours to blockers, lookouts, and petty accomplices. Power lines took on deliberate arcs. Banner cords and dock ropes shaped themselves into ready nooses. Witnesses reported a very tall, pallid man in a wide-brim hat and long black coat, flickering through alleys and across rooftops. The whistle, always a step ahead. Foundation agents attempting proximity were displaced by non-lethal, looped lines. Event was terminated when the active crime supply collapsed to 0. Haze cleared overnight. Outcome: all executed individuals were later linked to open cases. Violence, human trafficking, organized predation, or active complicity. No one involved civilian deaths verified. SCP-Y-070-A, recorded clearly twice, and absent from cameras at other moments in the same locations at the same time. Recording inconsistencies noted. Cover story sustained. Infrastructure incident and public disorder. With utilities restoration paced to remove visible nooses before media circulation. Cross note. SCP-Y-022 was briefed on the attire of SCP-Y-070-A. The following is an interview log with SCP-Y-022. Daywalker.
I assume that's enough footage for you to get an idea about the entity. Do you recognize him?
The coat and hat, yes. But the man? No. Either his face has changed, or I did not live to see him wear it in my reality.
What does the uniform mean? It appears to be like your own, but some properties are different.
Like me, Angelus Mortis, High Office. We use the term lictor for those who carried sentence from old Rome. The highest seat was the primus lictor, and sometimes they would bear the extra title, precantor, the one who sings songs for the afterlife.
And you believe that's the reason behind the whistle?
It was used in executions. The ballad drowns the pleading and fixes the moment in memory, as an instance of fear. If your anomaly whistles the ballads, while the city ties itself into a gallows, then I would name him Primus Lictor, one of very few precantors of Angelus Mortis, the final say in high case law, when the civil benches could not or would not act, when corruption ate the courts, when a syndicate nested in the state. He signed the warrant that was not written. He told the electors when to take the law back.
You're saying he could authorize overthrow? Exercise the end of a government?
If the ledger demanded. We called that the Black Asides. It meant courts have failed. Angelus Mortis will now weigh the city on its blade. If your storm is his, then he has found a way to carry the assize with him, a sky that judges, a rope that writes the verdict. Do not mistake the politeness of a ballad for mercy.
I see. Well, he seems to completely ignore all attempts at negotiation or interrogation. Do you think having a shared history would evoke a reaction? Would he acknowledge you?
Not as I am today. I was made a contradiction, a monster that simply burns under the moon instead of the sun. To any who have served in the Angelus Mortis, I am no more than something that needs to be removed.
This is Director Waller, signing off on another report at Site-Y-1. I hope you'll consider subscribing to stay up to date with our latest findings. I eagerly look forward to having your audience in future reports.